I'd like to invite questions from the audience at this point. I'm just going to move out because I think you can't see these gentlemen from there. But please make sure that these are questions you want to ask them and not statements that you want to make, please. Okay, be clear in your heads about the questions.
Hi, I have a question for Naseer Sahab. What was your process like of acting back then in Junoon, and how has it evolved over the years?
Boss, it's a very long answer you're hoping for.
No, I'll answer it in one sentence.
Yes.
In those days, I actually believed that it's desirable to become the character. I have since learnt that it is highly undesirable, because if I had become Sarfaraz Khan, then the story would have been much worse than what Kunal just said. And I have a very simple formula for my work now, which is learn your lines and don't bump into the furniture. That's the dictum I follow now.
Thank you so much.
Actually, Mr. Shah, sorry. My name is Kim Singh. I'm a film critic in California. So you are one person on stage who has remained with Bollywood cinema over decades. And you talked about how your acting style has changed. Is it a reflection of what Mr. What Mr. Benegal was talking about, how filmmaking as an art has changed or degenerated over the years? So if you could talk a bit about that. Thank you.
I don't know if the craft of acting has changed in any noticeable way, and I suppose where I'm concerned, I've just grown up and learnt that an actor is not any more important than the setting or than the light which is illuminating him. And in fact, very often it is the light which is illuminating him which embellishes his performance. It took me a long time to figure this out, and I did indulge myself a great deal initially in my career until I realized that my job in the movie is not to be better than everybody else, but to act as a messenger. And if I cannot, with clarity and with precision and with completeness, convey what the writer intended, what the writer wrote, and what the director intended, then I am a bad actor, because no matter how skillful I may be, that's of absolutely no importance when it's a question of conveying a message with clarity is concerned. So that is where my ideas have changed. I'm no longer, in my mind, the focus of everything. The actor, rather, is not the focus of everything. The actor is one element. And Shyam's injunction to me constantly during Manthan and during Junoon was, do not play the part as you see it in your head. Play it as it's written. I cannot say that I followed that instruction very closely in either of these two movies, because I was very insecure. I had a great deal of energy. I was young, and I felt that there are many points I have to prove and so on. So I went overboard with my enthusiasm. But I've mellowed a little bit since. I think I've grown up.
Nafisa, let me ask you that you came into a movie where there was Naseeruddin Shah and many actors, Shabana, Kulbhushan Saab, and so many others who were actors, very serious about their work and having done a lot of work. What was your feeling about acting with them, working with them?
I was the kid on the block who pestered them all. Tell me how to do this, tell me how to do that. He was my first teacher.
I take no responsibility.
That's nice.
I said, tell me how to do it. So then I don't know what we were doing, but we were all lying down on the roof of some place.
Yeah, it was winter and it was sunny.
And we were talking, and then suddenly he did, and he sneezed like that, and then I said, what, where, what? He said, that's it. I said, you mean that's acting? He said, yeah. I said, oh, this is cool. And then there's a scene in the film where there's the guy, he's the sepoy who comes in, and he kills the next person on the bed, and I get up and I see this and I become hysterical. His mom was, I loved her. So I said, oh my God, I've never shouted in my life. What will I do? And she says, and she started screaming on top of her voice.
Okay.
Like, so she says, that's it? Just scream. So then Shyam said, welcome to the world of acting after my shot was over. I was so happy.
Wow. So when you see the movie now, when is the last time you saw it?
On in a theatre? 35 years ago.
Wow, that's
30.
good.
I'm really looking forward to seeing it because I've seen it on video, all these on a TV screen.
But let
That's
me
awesome.
tell you, the attention to detail, the magic of the cinematography and the set design. I mean, it
And
is
costumes.
And Jennifer's
Jennifer's
costumes.
costumes.
It's phenomenal, you know. And that has lived with me in my 35 years in cinema, because everything I observe through Shyam, Govind's eyes. I observe it all the time, and I'm a big critic in cinema, and when I see things all the time so jarring, or the lights are too loud, or the performance is out of place, or the silly flowers, or all things out of character. Everything in Junoon is just part of it all. That's what the magic
While
of
we
Junoon
were
is.
sitting in the lab and grading the film the first time round and looking at it, I hadn't seen it as well for maybe 20 years. And one that got me was I'm looking at silent footage, and strange enough, I could hear it in my head. But I could hear the music, I could hear the dialogue, I could hear him raving and ranting, and I could hear all this happening. The dinner scene that Govind talked about in Ruth's house, if you watch that dinner sequence, like I said earlier, this was a period that my mother actually liked a lot.
Right.
And she collected
These books that you were talking
tastes,
about.
antiques,
All
things
these-
in her
all
house.
Everything.
I look at that footage now, and even my kids, and we see our house in it now.
Wow.
I'm still eating on the same cutlery and the same crockery that is on that table.
Wow.
We eat on it at home right now. Mom just seemed to have packed up half the kitchen
And taken it
half
away.
the house. I wasn't here, so I don't know. But when I'm seeing it now, I recognize things.
Right.
I said, oh damn, those lamps are from the living room. Those we just all went to Lucknow.
Right. So Govindji, do you remember the camera that you shot this on?
Well, we had two cameras. One was, of course, the Arri,
Okay.
and the other was the Mitchell.
Wow. So,
And the whole charge of the cavalry that you see,
yes.
we were lucky we got an open car, old car.
Right.
And we also managed to get a location which had a concrete road running by its sides.
Right. I guess that's why you must have chosen that location
Yeah.
for that shot.
Yeah, because there was nothing else at the background, which was
Right.
good.
Awesome.
So we mounted about 2 or 3 cameras.
Including the Mitchell? Was
Yes,
it very heavy, the Mitchell
including
camera?
the Mitchell.
That was the main camera that
That
Govind
was the main
handled.
camera. And,
Then his assistants had
and then
charge
we
of
had
other
the Arri with a zoom.
Tell
So
them.
every time we ran the charge,
Ji.
we had 3 cameras moving, rolling.
All
One was
from
a
the same
Mitchell,
vehicle?
all on the same car.
Okay.
One Mitchell, one Arri with zoom, which I was operating, and then there was one more Arri without the zoom, wider perspective. So every time there was a charge, we couldn't repeat the charges too many times because
Sure.
horses would get very tired.
Right.
So every time we ran the horses, we got 3 shots at one time, and in between one tried to get with the zoom
That's your
quickly.
camera?
Yeah,
Yes.
because then I would improvise according to what I was seeing through the camera.
Sure.
And so that's how
That
it
must have
was
been
done.
fun, actually.
Yeah.
No, but
But-
he'd also, Govind had already also set up a trolleyway rail
Yeah.
about 20 feet high on stilts that ran for, I don't know, about from here till the end of the
Yeah.
For the same
end of the
charge?
theatre.
50 to
Yes,
70
and
70 feet.
some of the battle scenes were shot like that.
But the
He's
greatest
there perched on his camera, and somebody who's being acrobatic and pushing the trolley at that height.
But the great joy as a cameraman for me was to light up the night scenes. Outdoors,
With practicals,
indoors,
with
and
real-
all that. And that, I think, worked out quite well, so that I became notorious
no
for
fast
taking too
film.
much time on that. But
Yes.
ultimately, I think it...
What was the fastest stock you had then?
and we were shooting at the film, which was not very fast.
Stock.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
it
it
Right,
was 64 ASA.
And so did you not have any artificial light? You would have had some...
No, we had artificial light.
Right.
Inside the houses also, even during the day,
Right.
We had natural light and the filler,
Right.
and but we didn't have the kind of sophisticated light units that we have today.
Okay.
So the old tungsten lights,
Okay.
basically, which we, filter it through a blue gel
Right.
to convert it into the
Gel.
daylight and things
You had
like
Roscoe gels then?
that.
No.
हाँ?
Roscoe gel बाद में आता था जिससे
रॉस्को
वो
तो बहुत
daylight-
बाद में आया भाई।
अच्छा
हम लोग वही रास्ते से जेल्स खरीदते थे
अच्छा अच्छा
वहाँ पर हाथ में देख
Okay.
के। It was, I mean, it was a challenge,
जी.
but most welcome challenge, I would say.
My name is Rohit Trivedi, and sir, Naseer sir, I was there in your workshop, if you remember.
No, yeah. Not that old, yeah. I remember.
So, sir, my question is, how do you prepare for both of your roles, like movies and theatre? How do you differentiate between them? Do you just get into the character with the costumes and all? Or
Well, getting into the character is easier said than done. And I no longer try to do that. Because as I said, imagine if if an actor playing Othello became Othello. Right? He'd need a new Desdemona to strangle every night. So it's the same application that's required really. I don't believe there is a huge difference between acting on the stage and acting in movies. Both have their own peculiarities, both have their own kinds of challenges. I wouldn't say this one is easier or that one is easier. Neither one is easy. And they both require the same kind of approach and the same kind of labor, which is something which doesn't occur to people, that acting is a job which requires a great deal of labor. It's not just inspiration or talent which comes to your aid. It's hard work which comes to your aid.
That's very well said, sir.
thank you, sir.
Yes.
Hi, my question is to Mr. Benegal. Sir, all your movies are so varied, from like Ankur to Manthan and Junoon and Making of Mahatma and everything. So there's no set pattern to any feature of yours. So what is that one moment of feeling that you get that I want to make this certain film at that point of your life?
You know,
Tipping point.
that is very difficult to answer.
Right.
It depends on your own predilection, interests, all of these things that make you choose the subject you want to make a film of.
Okay.
You know, there's no such thing as I sit there and I've got a whole ideology. This is the kind of film I want to make. It's not like that at all. It's what you feel at any given time, and then the subject grabs you. You get very interested in doing it, and then you pursue that subject until you made a film of it.
Okay.
Now, that has been the normal pattern. Now, the fact is that if it is a question of if I am using certain devices, certain techniques for a particular film, it does not mean that it can be used for other films as well.
Okay.
If you start doing that, then you are repeating yourself.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm very
That's
conscious of from the very beginning. You know, because one of the worst things that can happen to people, particularly directors, I mean anybody who's in the creative field, is that very easy to repeat yourself, you know, to copy your own self after a while, because it's the easy way to handle a problem. You know, but for me, the important thing is each problem must be handled for that particular time and for that particular subject. You cannot apply something that you applied somewhere else for this because it's only the easier way to do it. That is something you have to avoid like the plague.
Okay.
Naseer Saab, do you
Thank you
think
so
it's valid for acting as well? Sorry.
Absolutely. Though I would say that it's not as critical an issue
Okay.
where an actor is concerned. I think an actor's responsibility is not to be different in every
Sure.
role.
Sure.
That is then comes into the realm of just showing off. I can do this and I can do
Sure.
that as well. I think there's no harm if an actor repeats a performance or gives a performance which is similar to a performance he did earlier, provided that helps convey the content of the script.
Sure. Sure.
Then I don't think that it is necessary. And as I've also said before, that an actor's job, I have come to believe, is no longer, I no longer believe that it is one where you just display your wares but
Surely.
where you act as a medium
Surely.
to communicate. So I would say it's much more, the issue is much more critical where if you're making films is concerned, not so important as far as an actor's job.
I wanted to ask the three of you. You all were stalwarts of what back then was called the Indian parallel movement. Today, when you look at what they call the indie cinema, the Hindi independent cinema, do you see echoes of your experiences in what directors like Dibakar and Anurag are going through today, or is it a completely different world? I mean, was Shashi Kapoor producing this film the equivalent of Amir Khan and Kiran putting their might behind Ship of Theseus, or was your experience completely, I mean, was mainstream and art house totally different then?
Well, let me look at it from my point of view. You see, at that time, it was almost like there were two different things. Fish and fowl, two completely different things. People used to look at it that way also. The distributors used to look at films like that. So there was a clear demarcation. That's why that term parallel, which I hate, that term came into being at that time, and somebody who invented it, I will strangle him if I see him now. Because it makes no sense at all. But the fact is that there was a certain kind of difference. One was, the form of film, the kind of form. Like we have a very popular form of Indian cinema, which has remained there from the year dot. But these were films that did not necessarily follow that particular form. They were different from that. But today, at that time, it wasn't very easy for audiences to accept an Indian film that was formally different. Now it's not difficult because today you don't go to see a film only because it's got a certain format of songs and dances and you're familiar with it. Now because you see there's so many, the media has grown also. You have television, you have so many things, you have the internet, you have so many different means through which you see films. So your film experience is much wider than it ever used to be in the past. So in that sense, I feel that today's young filmmakers have a great advantage, which we did not have at that time. I mean, I don't want to feel unnecessarily heroic, but there was something heroic about it at that time, So it was, yes.
I'd like to add in there. I mean, what I honestly do feel, if you look at that period, particularly in the 70s, the cinema and Shyam's earlier films, and generally what was happening at that point, if you look at those films compared to what mainstream Bollywood was making at the time, just technically, forget about the script or who you're talking to, but technically those films, the so-called parallel cinema, were actually better. Bollywood was technically making, I'm sorry to use the word, but crap. They weren't interested in quality in any form whatsoever, whether it was editing, photography, or even performances. It was all centered around the hero and the dialogue. The way things have changed today, I think the mainstream cinema today has got more technically savvy, and unfortunately, the so-called indie cinema, I think personally, it's my opinion, I think technically is in its infancy. It's sad actually to see that they are not able to reach the kind of technical quality that they got in those days. They were far ahead. And today they're not of that standard. The scripts may be good, the stories may be good, but technically they really suffer. That I find is an interesting contradiction. I don't know why.
See, what I feel is one of the important elements that informed what you call the parallel cinema or the new cinema that happened was that most of the filmmakers, they felt that by making a certain kind of film, which had more to do with subject matter than anything else, that somewhere they are making a difference, And the other thing that cinema made it obvious was the choice. They told you, those films, that it is possible to make a good film and not follow the pattern of the mainstream cinema. You see, simple thing like happy ending. It's possible to make a good film without a happy ending. It's possible to make a good film without stars. It is possible to make a good film without 6 songs. So there was a sense of feeling that you can do different things. That was the essence that that movement of that period, I think, conveyed. And what you see today is the attempt to do something different. So I think there is a continuity, but the form has changed, and we shouldn't expect today's filmmaker to follow the same technique and mainly the technique and storytelling narrative structures that somebody used 30 years ago.
No, but what
They will find their own patterns, they will find their own concerns. But the fact is, the courage to do something different because you know it can be done.
So, Nafisa, when you see the film, from what you remember, who do you like as an actor in the film? Who do you like in the film? Which person do you like?
That's very difficult because I think everybody played their parts well.
No, but you like somebody.
I'm the only one here, so you may as well say.
I love Shashi.
Shashi, huh?
I love Shashi because it portrayed him in a character that never had been seen.
Being played by him.
Yeah, and he was so handsome.
Of course.
And he was such a great actor. And the whole experience, just watching him, was like it was and everyone together. It was like a feast, And I'm so fortunate in my first film to work among such great people, which has, in a way, made me or molded me into who I am today. Because I see things differently through all their experiences and eyes.
But basically, you like Javed Khan.
Because I hated him in the beginning, I tried to run away from him all the time. And in the end, of course, his passion, his Junoon, made me truly love him.
Wow.
No, but I think Shashi Saab really broke new ground for himself as an actor with both Junoon and Kaliyug. I think his performances in both were quite magnificent.
I think I'll have to stop. Yeah, we'll have to start the movie now. So I will be reading the note out from Mr. Bond. I'm reading the note that Mr. Ruskin Bond has written. It's gratifying to see that Shyam Benegal's Junoon is better appreciated today than when it was first shown. One of the reasons perhaps is that with the spread of education and information, more people are interested in historical subjects than they used to be. The film is an authentic portrayal of the 1857 uprising. I have seen it 2 or 3 times over the years and have always been impressed by the excellent performances by all the actors, which include the stars and the supporting cast. Well, he mentioned, incidentally, Kulbhushan Kharbanda and yourself, sir, as special cases. It's the same room he was talking about. I would have loved to come for this screening, but due to the poor health at the moment, it's difficult for me to travel. I send my best wishes to all the delegates and to everyone over there who's interested in making good pictures. Thank you and hope you have a good festival. Subscribe to Film Companion to get your film fix.